Welcome back. Okay, in this session we're going to look at a very useful tool, and that is the map search. There are actually two ways of getting here. You can go to Searches Map, or you can go to Maps Map Search. It'll take you to the exact same place. Okay, so either Searches Map or Maps Map Search. The first thing you'll notice when you get here is a map. Good grief, what will they think of next? If we scroll down below, you will see a radius search. Now, any of you who ever done a radius search in our system, this will look incredibly familiar because it's essentially the exact same tool that you've been used to using. The difference is that now you have a map above showing you what you're actually searching. If we keep scrolling down, this might look familiar to some of you. Well, it should, because this is a standard search. Okay, so basically what we have here is a map, a radius search, and a standard search. We also have all the additional criteria, and any of you who have been here before knows that this goes on for about a week and a half, and I'll show you a fabulously quick way of searching this when we actually get to inputting a listing. But basically what we have here in the map search is a map plus a radius search plus a standard search. Now let's start by doing a radius search, and there are actually 4 different ways of doing it. The first 3 are all in this box below the map. And the first one is an address search. Now, I've kind of stopped using this except for as a last resort. Why? Because it frustrates the heck out of me. More than one occasion, I've put an address in. I know perfectly well I've got a valid address. It comes back and it says not a valid address. So, like Pavlov's dog, I've just quit using it. It's just frustrating. I only use it as a last resort. You can also search by listing number. Well, this is phenomenally useful. If you're working with a buyer and you want to do a CMA, a comparative market analysis, to justify the price you're offering, you can put in a listing number, any listing number. It doesn't have to be your listing, any listing number. So if it's in the MLS, you can very quickly, very easily do a radius around it. The one we're going to use is the APN, Assessor's Parcel Number. Now, even though we told the system that we like LA, you do have to choose Los Angeles from the list. It's an alphabetized list, so just select Los Angeles. As we all know, in LA County, APNs have 10 numbers separated with 2 hyphens. We're going to leave out the hyphens. So we're going to search for 2562, that's the map book, 013, that's the page, 001, that's the lot. Do not press enter. If you press enter, you're not going to get what you want. What you need to do is come over here to the right to recenter map. You just click on that, and as if by magic, it recenters. Okay, now, what have we just done? We have basically told the system that we only want properties that fall within that red shaded area. Now, I deliberately picked this because it's a hillside property, and what I'm about to show you isn't terribly relevant in the flatlands of Pasadena. But in the hillsides, the aerial view, right now we're in the road view, you see up here at the top left, the aerial view can be very useful. And you see that when we go to the aerial view, you can immediately see that we're missing this whole subdivision to the east here, which is called Crystal View. So to add that, we come down below. Now, one of the drawbacks with this is that you only have the options shown. Actually, I'm going to scroll down the page a bit so you can see these options, okay? You only have these options. Okay, and I'll show you in a minute another way of doing this where you get more choices. But we're just going to select one. Notice we don't have to click anything. Our area just changed automatically. So we've basically told the system that we only want to search for properties in this red shaded area. I'm going to go back to the road view because it's a little easier to see. Now, if we scroll down the page, you'll see that we have a ton of different choices, including, for example, area, county, city, zip code. Well, why is that relevant? Okay, I mean, let's say, for example, that we're doing a CMA in South Pasadena. No matter where you draw a radius in South Pasadena, you're going to get parts of, Alhambra and Highland Park, Pasadena, San Marino. None of them have the same schools. So, for example, there, what you would do is you do your radius, and then you'd say, okay, within that radius, I only want this zip code or this city. So the point here is that the search at the top, the map that we created, is your starting point. That is the start of your search. You then add all the various criteria that you want to it. Does that make sense? All right. So we did that. All right, I think that's pretty much the way we do that. I'm going to go back to the home page, and then I'm going to reopen the map search. Again, you can do it either searches map or maps map search, and I'm going to show you the fourth way of doing this. Now, the first three ways we used were down here in this box. The fourth way, and the way that frankly I think you'll find yourself using it most often, is a visual way. And we're going to use this tool up at the top here, which is the draw radius tool. So the way this works, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to zoom in to where we want to be on the map, okay? And we're going to pretend that we're going to take a listing just above Victory Park here, okay? So step one, zoom in to where you can see what you want. Step two, click on this tool. Notice I have a little yellow triangle. Can you see the little yellow triangle underneath the radius there? And now you don't have to hold the mouse button down or anything. You just go with your mouse to where the center of your search is going to be. So this is going to be the subject property. I click. Again, I don't have to hold the mouse button down or anything, but now as I move my mouse, I can make the radius any size I want. You remember how in the last option we only had a quarter, half, 1, 2, 5, etc. Here you can make it any size you want. So make it so it exactly includes what you want. Click again. You have now locked it, and you would now go and do the rest of your criteria. You know, put in your zip code, put in your beds, baths, and all that other good stuff. Does that make sense? This is important enough, we're going to do it again, okay? So I'm going to zoom over to another spot. Let's say I'm going to be up above the Rose Bowl here. So step one, zoom to where you can see the subject property, what you want to be the center of your search. Step two, click on the radius tool. Notice we got that little yellow triangle. Step three, click where you want your subject to be, the center. Step four, zoom to exactly what size you want. Step five, click. You've now locked it, and you go and do the rest of your search. Okay, very, very useful, very important tool. Okay, I'm going to clear that shape. Now, there are times that you don't necessarily want to have a circle. Okay, let's pretend that we want to search Bungalow Heaven in Pasadena. It's the granddaddy of our historic neighborhoods. You probably know that it's Washington and Lake to Hill and Orange Grove. We're going to use the area tool here. When I run my mouse over it, you'll see it says draw area. So again, step one, zoom to where you've got the area you want. Step two, click on the area. Notice we've got the little yellow triangle there. Now, when you click in one corner, you don't have to hold your mouse button or anything. You just drag to the opposite corner, diagonally opposite corner, and I have now set up a search for Bungalow Heaven. So now I would basically say that I want, 3-bedroom, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Very useful tool. One thing about this tool is that you can actually include non-contiguous areas. So let's say that your client says, well, I'd like to be in that area, or I'd like to be in this area here, or I'd like to be in this area up here. Hang on one second, there we go. You can have non-contiguous areas that you search. So now, when I run a search, I'm going to search only for properties within those shaded areas. Very, very useful. If someone doesn't like a particular block, just leave it out. Okay? Very good. Now, last tool in the mapping. And the mapping really is a phenomenal tool, so I encourage you to learn this one. It's very important. We're going to clear the shapes. And whilst the area tool is useful where you have nice, neat north, south, east, west grids, it doesn't work nearly as well, for example, in the hillsides where you have, the hills messing up. Okay, so let's go to Lockery Center. Now, how would you search this block here? You can't do it using the area. We're going to use the last tool here, and that is the polygon. And in many ways, this is the most flexible. So again, step one, zoom to where you want. Step two, click on the polygon tool. Now with this tool, you're going to click on each of the boundary points as you go round the boundary and come back to close your area. And once again, you can include discontinuous areas. So I can go and do another, parallelogram here. you can actually use multiple things together. So for example, I can now add a rectangle, an area search. I can now add a radius search. We'll go and look up on the mountain here. I won't find too much up there. But basically what we've done is we've said we only want to search within these shaded areas, and we're now going to go and choose our other criteria. Okay, one last thing before we leave. You can save these searches so you come back to them. And the way we do that is from the Options button. Now remember, I told you we have the main menu bar across the top here. Our sub-menu here, one of the choices is Options. One of the fascinating things about this is that every time you come to it, it will look different. Okay, so we only have 3 choices here, but we'll come back to it again later and we'll see many more choices. We're going to go to this Save As Save Search. You only have 20 characters, so I'm just going to call this LCR, I'll call it a multi-search. You don't actually have to remember what that means, because when you go and look at the search, which we'll do in a minute, you'll see that you can look up the criteria that you've used. I've now saved that, and I can come back to that map at any time that I want. So, please believe me, the map search is probably the only search you need in your day-to-day career. Wonderful tool. I'm not going to use it in the rest of the classes, but you know, if you're only going to learn one thing today, make sure you learn the map tool, because it really is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Okay, that's it for this section. Thank you very much.